So, welcome everyone to the WeShape Tech Lunch and Learn webinar at the Open Hub Day. I hope you had a great time so far, and I hope you had so many interesting sessions so far. And now we are getting our hands on, because this is a learning and a hands-on webinar session, as you know, on data visualization for everyone. So, I would like to start with, can you see my slide? Oops. Okay, next slide. Okay, sorry, quickly. So I would like to start with a short introduction on WeShape Tech, and then I will hand over to Teresa Kubacka, who will present herself in 5 minutes and talk about her way into technology. And after that, she will give a little knowledge input on open data visualization and warm up your sides and your brain to get into the mood of data visualization. And after that, you will get a chance to take part in a hands-on session with her, and you can choose either you create visualizations yourself together with Teresa, or you just watch what Teresa is doing and then you can try it for yourself afterwards. Then we will close with a small Q&A, and I will give you a little outlook on the next events of WeShape Tech. Since we're not too many people in the session, we will do a live Q&A. And if you want to drop your question during the session in the chat, then please do this. And another little interaction, please drop your name and job role into the chat, so everyone who's here can get an idea on who's taking part and who we're actually in the room with. So first of all, on me, my name is Janine Fuchs. I'm a co-founder of WeShape Tech, which we founded in 2016. And I'm also co-founder of Graphic2, a company, graphic design studio for visual communications and branding, positioning and branding communications. I'm very excited about this session because it brings together my two loves, one for design, the other one for technology. So I'm very excited about what we're going to hear in the next hour. So WeShape Tech's platform and network for greater diversity and inclusion in tech. We have 4 chapters in Switzerland, Basel, Bern, and Zurich, and we're always on the lookout to broaden our network. So whenever, if you know somebody or if you're interested yourself and you're not from any of these cantons, then please let us know if you would like to found a chapter. We're very open, and for this, we'd be very happy to do this together. So WeShape Tech is based on 4 pillars: role models, insights, network, and jobs. So in our monthly newsletter, for example, we always present a role model and we ask about her way into technology. And with this, we show how diverse the ways are to actually get into technology. There's not that one day, there's not that one education. So you also get a feeling how a life can go, how you hear opportunities and then you take them, and all about this. So the next pillar is insights. This is all about skill sharing and knowledge transfer. And we believe that there's a huge potential in the network, also network of WeShape Tech, to share know-how with each other. And we provide the platform. So whenever you have an idea as well for your profession or your expertise and you would like to share it to a community, just come up to us and we will provide for the framing. Then obviously we're a network. We organize many usually live events, but not at the moment. Obviously we've changed our format to the webinar, changed last spring, and the webinar lunch and learn format is the one that we use mostly at the moment. We also provide for job offerings. In this, we mainly do on social media, obviously, and also in our newsletter. So this is an image of a live event, and an example of an event, a crash course in coding, which we did with Tamedia, and Master 21, 2019. So also here you can see hands-on sessions. So we're very much bottom up, and we really believe, hey, get your hands dirty, dive into by learning by doing and so on, and then you will succeed. This is the next format, the lunch and learn format that we're in now as well. The format's very good to provide for crash courses. So you get a glimpse into a field that you maybe don't know already, or that you can feel you can learn something. So today, also with the webinar format, we have our dear guest, Teresa Kubacka. Teresa and me, we met at the We Tech Together conference. That was a conference where many networks came together, and you can see Teresa is independent data scientist, board member of Women in Machine Learning and Data Science Zurich. We found ourselves through mutual interests, also complementary interests, and got in touch. And then we saw that both of us have the home base at the Impact Hub. So that was just a short step to actually collaborate and create something nice for the Open Hub Day today. So now I'm very, very happy and excited about this session, and I would like to welcome Teresa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Janine, for this very nice introduction. Let me start from the golden quote 2020. Let me share my screen. And here we go. So you should be able now to see my slides. So hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, as I said, and I'm also very excited to share with you some thoughts and tips and tricks about data visualization. And I hope in this session I can bring you more from this side of data visualization towards this side of data visualization. Before I start, one organizational thing, the slides will be accessible for you. We have prepared a folder where you can find the slides, and you can find the file, because we will have the hands-on session. I prepared a very tiny data set to visualize our data, and we will distribute the links through the presentation, during the presentation, so you can set yourself up. So as for the presentation, shortly about me, I have spent most my life in Europe. I was born and grew up in Poland, and after my studies, I moved to Switzerland. And I'm here since 2011. Another place in Europe which is very dear to my heart is Portugal, where I spent my Erasmus exchange. And as you see, in my previous life, I was a physicist. I completed my master and PhD in physics. But then I decided to move to data science, because already at this time, I felt that academic path is not for me, but actually working with data and insight is something very appealing. So I did a data science bootcamp, which is a very intensive 6-week training for people who want to transition into tech and they are outside from this area. Then I got a job at Mobiliar, the Swiss insurance company, and I was there for 2 years as a data scientist. And beginning of last year, I have moved to being a freelancer, which means now I juggle with many different skills and roles. I'm a little bit of an analyst, a data scientist, a product owner, software architect, UX researcher. It's a very fascinating field to be in as a freelancer. And about data visualization. So the first question is, why bother, right? And the main reason why it is very critical to bother with data visualization is that we as humans, we are biological machines, and we evolved to be very, very good at understanding visual patterns. But now if we work with data are very abstract. They are nothing like the Mother Nature has equipped us to do. And we don't have the intuition for very abstract numbers. And so we need to find a bridge to help us as humans make sense out of what we have in the data. And to illustrate this, there is this little exercise here that you can see. And the question is how many number 9s you can see, how easy it is for you to determine how many 9s you can see in each of these pictures. Here, when it is just data, it is very, very difficult because all these numbers, they look alike to us. But if we just, we leave the same table as it is, but we change the colors, and then we emphasize the 9s, it is much easier to see. And now, because we have computers, we don't have to just do this. We can simply let the computer calculate how many 9s or how many digits are in this table. And then we can make a summary chart like this, and then we can highlight what we are looking for. And therefore, we can draw the conclusion in a fraction of a second instead of spending a lot of time on calculating it by hand. So this illustrates how critical it is to do the data visualization. And now we have this whole universe of data visualizations. It is not just, charts that you see in school in a physics class, but we have dashboards, which are more business or action-oriented. We have data visualizations that are part of data journalism. We, of course, have infographics that become more and more advanced in terms of data visualization. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have something called data art, which is taking data as numbers, but they no longer represent these operative data in the same way as the dashboard would. But its data serves as a basis for creating something that is aesthetically and emotionally engaging and doesn't have this informational value anymore. And here, the spoiler alert, in 10 minutes from now, we will start to create data visualization ourselves. And these are the two links. They will show up every now and then, and we'll also paste them in the chat. So while I'm talking, you can start setting yourself up. And now the boring part before we, now the theory part before we switch to the hands-on part. So this is how we all most likely know data visualization from school. So we have a chart. This chart has two axes because our data has two variables, in this case, time and position. And then we have axes. We have some axis labels here and here. Then we have our data, which is represented at points, and the position of the points corresponds to the value that the data has. For example, this data point, it has a time of 9 and position of 50. And so we encode the data as a position of the point on this chart, on this plane. And then we also have some other features like a legend, a color, a title. Now we also know some very, very common data visualizations from work. So the two kings is the bar chart and the pie chart. And because we all know them, I'm not going to spend so much time on this, but what I want you to get from this slide is something very interesting. So if you see here, we encoded data as a position of the point on the plane. Now, in this example of a bar chart, we encode the data. So for example, the value of how many cat owners we encode as a length of the bar. And in this case, the bar has a length of 40 units, and this bar has a length of 20 units. And similarly here, we also encode the data, the number, as a visual feature, but in this case, it is an angle. And here we see that an angle that corresponds to the data of Cookie Monster is 75%. And this is something very like a fundamental principle of data visualization, that we try to turn numbers into visual features. And apparently these three that I discussed just a moment before, they are just some examples. We have many, many more options. We don't only have position, length, and angle, but we also have slope, we have area, we have volume, we have line width. We can encode data as colors when it comes to color intensity or color hue. And then we can also find a bit more abstract encoding, like correspond the data to the line type or the shape. And when you think about how do we now visualize the data, this principle opens up a huge amount of possibilities, because you are no longer limited just to this encoding. You can choose from all of these. And to get you a bit inspired, I would like to invite you to the zoo of the data visualization types that you have probably not heard of. So I'm going to do a really quick tour. The first chart that I would like to present you is the bubble chart. It's very similar to the scatter plot representing velocity or position and time, but now we can also encode something as the size of the bubble, and also we can think about encoding something as the color of the bubble. And here in every example, there is a little kind of real life use case where we could apply this type of chart. Another chart that is quite useful is a filing plot. And this plot we can use very well if we want to illustrate the distribution distributions of some variables. For example, if we have different groups of people, what is the distribution of earnings in each of the group? Then we have a radar chart. And here you see, like, we no longer have an axis that is straight. We have some kind of axis that has a form of a circle. And this type of visualization works exceptionally well when we have some data that happens recurring in time. For example, if we have something that happens always within 1 hour, or within a day, or within a year, and then you can overplot different series per each year on this. Then we have a heat map. So this is a way of showing the data that belongs to 2 categories, and then we can encode a third value as a color. So for example, we can encode how many visitors our website had for every day and hour in such a way. And the next 2 visuals, they illustrate the 2 charts that help us determine the flow or the connection between things. And the first one has a little bit of an exotic name. It's called alluvial diagram. Sometimes you can find the name Sankey, which is not the actual Sankey chart, but a lot of people use this way. They use this name for this particular chart. And this one helps us visualize the flow. So let me jump to the example. For example, here we could use this to illustrate the flow of voters between different parties in the parliamentary election, year 1, year 2, and year 3. And this would mean that, for example, for the party that is to the left, majority of people switched their vote to a different party in the second election. And then in the third election, this group of people went to yet a different party. Another type of F-chart that I want to show you is the chord diagram. And here, this is the one that I want you to pay attention to. And this one is helping us visualize the relationships or the flow between 2 entities, which goes in 2 directions. For example, flow of exports and imports between the countries. So here I could have 5 countries, and each of these chords, like one arc is a country, and each of these chords represents a connection between the 2, and also the length or the width of the chord here and here represents the value, so the data. So for example, here the volume of the trade. Now we have some visualizations that we can use as a tiny element in a table. For example, a sparkline, which is a tiny visualization of, for example, a past history of how the variable changed. So that immediately when you have one number in your table, you also see the context of this number, and then you can use it, for example, if you want to illustrate the COVID infections curve or the currency exchange curve. Another type of a sparkline is the win-loss sparkline, and this represents the events where something happened or something did not happen over time. For example, if you have a football team in a championship, as a one row of a table, and you want to build this big table that gives you an overview of how every team performed during the championship, you can say, okay, a blue square to the top represents a win, and the orange square to the bottom represents a loss. And then you can immediately visualize which of the team had a winning or a losing streak during this championship. Now, another plot, a bubble timeline. This is a quite refreshing alternative to like a bar chart. If you want to illustrate, for example, you have a timeline of events, and the events, they don't happen at every time unit, for example, every day. So here, one example of where we could use it is when we want to see how many fake news tweets did Donald Trump send every day. So maybe there was a day that he didn't send any fake news, and maybe we have days where he was really, really active on Twitter and really spreading fake stuff. And then, as a refreshing alternative to bar chart, we can use circles, and for every circle, the value of the data point at a given time is encoded as a radius or an area. And the last but not least is a bump plot. This is also a very useful chart if you want to represent how did the ranking change over time. So, for example, you could illustrate how the popularity of baby names changed in each decade. So you could have, for example, a name Mary that had a first place in, say, 1920, and then you see how the popularity decreased in time, because now in 2020 it is only a fourth. And meanwhile, there was another name, say Leah, that has increased in popularity a lot. So I encourage you, here you cannot see it because it's hidden by my icon, but there is this website called DataVis Project, which has many, many more examples, and I really encourage you to look it up because it's very fascinating and inspiring. So we have talked a little bit about the encoding of data's visual features and about different types of charts, but how do we know what to say, right? And this goes back to this topic of storytelling. So how do I discover what is this interesting thing in the data? Because it doesn't work out just to throw some data on the screen and say, okay, I'm done. What would be the story for the data? For example, that something is bigger than something else, or something behaves differently than you would expect, or something has the distribution that you can link to something else. So it's basically about the context and about the relationships and about being surprised or actually not being surprised. It really depends on this journalistic angle that you can find. And then it's a very messy project. It's a very messy process. There's a lot of trying out. There is a lot of iterations. And you have one messy blob for the data exploration. And here we typically use different tools that are very good at crunching numbers. So you can use Google Sheets or Excel, but if you know how to program, you can also go for tools like Python or R. And then once you have your story, you also need to try out different kinds of visualizations, because not all of them will work the same to support your message. And the first tool that we typically use would be actually to hand draw different visualizations, especially when you have the idea to do something very custom. But then you also have the tools that are free to use, and you only need to click through. You have these huge tools from big providers that are more inclined to work for the business, but actually you can do quite advanced stuff there as well. And if you like to program, you can also choose from plenty of tools in very different programming languages. And for this workshop, we will use the tool named Flourish. And once you have the story, actually it's not just a random chance on which chart to choose. You have to think about what is your story. For example, do you want to illustrate a comparison? Do you want to illustrate a hierarchy? Do you want to illustrate a part to a whole relationship? For example, here that something it has like 36% and something else. For example, that 36% of people have a dog, right? And once you know what is your story and what kind of a function do you expect from your data visualization, some of them work better than the others. And here I would like to show you that if we want to illustrate the 36%, for example, we are not limited just to the pie chart. There's many different visualizations that we can choose from. Some of them are more exact, some of them are less exact, but really sky is the limit, and we can be very creative when it comes to this, still preserving the correct function of the visualization. And this is another thing that I would like to emphasize, that in Polish, we have this saying that every eye sees a little bit differently. And this is also a case here in data visualization. Even if we all were given one data set, most likely everyone would pick their own story and then would pick the other visualization to illustrate it. And this is the beauty of it. There is no kind of right and wrong conclusion unless you are doing something manipulative or really distorting the data. And here the example that I want to give you is this website, which is a weekly competition where every week there is just one data set published, and everyone, like a few tens of people who participate, have to find their own story in the same data set and also provide a visualization for it. And these 6 charts, they were created from the same data, and you see they are all beautiful, they are all informative, and they are all different. And this is great. This is the beauty of it. This is the diversity of it, and I encourage you to follow your own story and also your own artistic intuition into how to visualize it. And that was enough of me talking. It's time to get our hands dirty. So again, the 2 links. If you have not done it until now, one thing that if you want to follow, of course, is to go to Flourish. So to go to this link and to sign up or sign in if you already have an account. And the other thing to do is to go to this link, because there it is a link to the Google Drive where I put a CSV file that contains our data. And also there is a copy of the slides that you can keep for later. And the data that we will be working on comes from the open data of City of Zurich. And these are statistics about how do people move flats in Zurich. If you ever tried to change the flat in the city, you know that it is quite a heated problem. And it is also very interesting to dig a little bit deeper on how do people deal with it and what do they do. So I took this data set. I did simple pre-processing in Python, mostly filtering for just the year 2019 and doing some applications. And you can find it here. So I'm gonna show you what we will do with this. We will use this chord diagram, and we will show the relationships of how people move between the areas of the city. So I'm gonna exit the presentation now and move to Flourish. So I'm going to walk you through to the tool. But if you get lost, I would encourage you to simply follow what I'm doing without trying to reproduce it yourself, because the tool is quite easy, and you can, if you want to continue it later, you can easily do it yourself as well. And we don't have time to coach everyone. But also, if you need anything, you can contact me later on. So once you log into Flourish, you will see such a screen. You will see some area where you have your past presentations. But if you just created an account, probably you see just a couple of default templates. Please ignore them until now. We want to create a new visualization here. Now I clicked on the new visualization. And now how Flourish works. Flourish offers you a template for a visualization. And if you select All by Flourish to see all the templates, you see that there is quite a choice. I mean, apart from these very standard charts, you have a wide variety of maps. You have a variety of scatter and bubble charts. You have more maps. You have different types of visualization for hierarchy and so on. And we are looking for the chord diagram. There is also a way to embed your own code in a kind of a sophisticated way or sophisticated template, but because we are not coding, we are not going to do it. And we are choosing directional chords. So now I clicked it, and what Flourish does, it creates a new template, a new example for me with some random data, or some example data. So here, don't be freaked out that, okay, this is just, some characters from a series, because this is just an example. In the first step, we are going to remove this example data, but where it is helpful for us is to understand how to work with this template. So we see that we have exactly these arcs. We have chords that connect the arcs, and here it was statistics of amounts of words. So to supply our own data, we go here to the data. First thing I want to do, here I see a table with the data, and then I have a mapping of which columns should my visualization template look at to create a visualization. I'm gonna remove them because otherwise, if you work with bigger files and you don't get it right from the first try, you will get problems here in this preview. So I want to upload the data now. Exactly. And here I have my file, Open Hub Data Umzüge. So I open it. Here a remark is, if you work with confidential data, then you should not try to use Flourish in the free version, because the data will be publicly visible. For us, we work in open data. This is no secret. We go import. Access. So now we have to do the mapping. So my column from is column A. So I enter here A. My column 2 is my column B. So this is the destination Kreis. And the value represents the thickness of the cord. And this is the sum of the people who moved. So I place a C here. Here we can see a little preview already. So now to style it better, we go to preview. I clicked on preview. And here we can see that our visualization already looks quite cool, just by using the defaults from the template. But then I had this vision of having something that is with a black background and a little bit transparent. So I'm going to work on the styling now, so that you can also learn how to use that. So first I'm going to change the color. I'm going to try to remove the interactivity. So I'm here, I'm choosing the color, and I'm choosing a different color palette. Say I like rainbow, because they are all then kind of ordered in hue and they look pretty. Now, the chords. I would like to decrease the opacity of the chords so that they are a bit transparent, because then I can see crossings a little bit better. So I click down here on the opacity, say to 65. We do not want to highlight anything. But here we see that the labels are a little bit too big. So here I can set the label text size. I set it as fixed. And I decrease it a little bit. And then I also want to enable the strokes to make a little bit of a comic feeling. So I want to change the stroke color to black and to increase the stroke opacity, say to 0.5. So now the arcs, I would like them to be a bit thicker. And I would also like to decrease the gap, because this is how I think I want to represent it. There is no huge rule about what should be the. You see that basically by changing the size of the gap, you bring the attention of the person who looks at it to a bit different places. But say that I don't want to have it. I think this was. Yes. Okay, so I changed the label text size fixed 1.2. Now the pop-ups. The pop-ups are these boxes that highlight when you place your cursor over a particular chord. And here it still says amount of words spoken, and we want to change it. We want to change it. Now it reacted, so we know that we can read better the data that we have. Okay, then the next we leave animation as it is. We leave number format as it is. We leave scaling and sizing as it is. Now layout. Here we will change the font and the color. So I would like to have a different font. I say Roboto Condensed. I would like to change the background color to have this dark background. So I change it to black. But now the problem is my font is no longer displaying properly. So I go back to the text color and I bring it to white. Down. And this we don't do at the moment. So we click back on layout to. And now the header. we would like to have a title for the chart, and the title will be very simple: Impact Zurich 2019. And I don't like it here in the corner, so I click alignment. And we don't have any subtitle, we don't have a border. So let's go to header. And now the footer, also alignment middle. And we can put the source name. So yes, we want to put the first sources, Zurich. We could also add an URL to create a link, but I'm not going to do it now. And we can also make a note. So let's make a note open. And we could also add a logo, but we don't want to do it. So that's it. It's around 10 minutes, and we have our cool, transparent, rainbowy graph on the black background. Now the question is, how do we show it to other people? And Flourish has this great capability of exporting and publishing, which is here in the corner. So I go to export and publish, and now I can either download, and for free I can download as an image. And the cool thing is that not only PNG or JPEG you can get, but also SVG. So for example, you can import it in Illustrator or your favorite program and work on it further. But we want to publish it and share the link to everyone. So publish, share and embed, and click it. And Flourish asks me, am I sure? Because now everyone will be able to see it. So I say yes. And here you can find the link, and you can also find a snippet. If you, for example, have a website, you can embed it using this code. So I can go now to this link. I open the link in a new tab. And you see it says Untitled Visualization because we didn't give a title. But we can see that here it is, our rainbow circle, and it is also interactive, which is very, very cool because we didn't have to do a lot, and it's already quite useful for this. And now you see, like, now we have some story, and we can start digging more, right? Because once we visualize the data, some things become apparent. For example, you can see that at the quartile 11, a lot of people actually stay in the quartile, right? I can click on it, and then it will stay highlighted. So you see, it's almost 50% of the people who stayed in the quartile. But if I look at other quartiles, it is not always the case. For example, in quartile number 3, there's fewer people staying inside the quartile. So this opens up new questions and also new research paths, also with open data. For example, we can see, did this pattern evolve over time? Does this number of people who move, does it scale with the population of the area, and so on and so on. So that would be this for the demo. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and no, because I also want to give you one more thing. So I'm not sharing. I want to give you some resources if you want, if you're encouraged to do your own work. How could you go about it? So a couple of links where you can get the data from, also with some links to the open data that you can find in Switzerland, some material to read, or some tutorials, or some inspirations. If you were to pick just one book or one material out of all of this, I recommend you this book by Alberto Cairo, How Charts Lie. It is a really great and really timely book, very funnily written with a lot of great examples. And also for a reference, you can also find the same exercise that I did previously here under this link. So exactly now, time for the Q&A. If you need to contact me, please drop me a message on LinkedIn or drop me an email, and I'll be super happy to take your questions now.
So cool, very cool, Teresa. Thank you so much. That was great. I could follow pretty okay. I hope everyone else as well. So if you have any questions on this session, you can just drop, I think we're too many people for a live Q&A, but please drop your question into the chat, bottom left, and then we will see that we can go through them in the next roughly 10 minutes. So I can already see one comment in the chat by Dominic Haas. Teresa, the image export in this is pretty limited. No interactions with the data there. Can you say something to the export and,
Yes, I mean, that's the beauty and pain of having visuals. I mean, if you have a photo, there is no interaction with the data. But if you have it on a website, then you can include some interactions. So yes, but if you are a hacker and then if you export an SVG, I think you can hack the SVG in an, I don't know, interactive PDF or something to program the interactions. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so while we're waiting for anybody else to drop a question into the chat, I have a question in general. So we didn't prepare this, don't feel surprised, but there's a huge difference of actually looking at a visualization where you have an information all at one visual site and compared to, for example, text describing the same thing. So do you know anything about the psychology of I mean, just roughly, like, what is the magic about looking at the visualization, seeing everything at one side compared to reading and then envisioning in your head?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is an ongoing discussion, I would say, because like there is two approaches, or more approaches, because the thing is, like, once you get insight from data, it's like, how do you communicate to the others, and how much do people understand from what you are communicating? And then you can stand on different positions here. You can say, I prepare something that I'm a guide to the person, right? And then you could think about these things called scrollytelling. So basically you have a web page and then it starts with some kind of a basic, it is as if you explained the story to someone. And you start from something simple, and then once the person scrolls down, the simple things becomes more and more advanced, and this is how you can tell the story. But it is not interactive per se, because you kind of guide the person. It is animated, but you guide the person. Then there is a different approach. Then there is an approach, do it interactive, do it like a dashboard. Don't tell so much, but give a person an ability to explore and look for their own patterns. Because this is also how they will learn, or how they will get the same insight. Then you do a lot of work to actually build the tool to kind of guide the person into the right way, but eventually it's the person that does this. I've also seen a variation of this where actually, I forgot which journal was it. They, for example, they would show some economic data chart, and they would say, now it's a wild case. I don't remember if it was about Barack Obama, but actually see, how did the economy look like under Barack Obama? So they would show you the graph until a particular point, and then they asked you to actually draw it interactively on a chart. So you would draw with your mouse, how did you think, did it grow, did it fall down, or did it stay stable? And in the next step, they would actually show you what is the answer. And because then you have this feedback, like you have to guess, and then you get an answer, and then you are surprised because maybe the answer was not what you expected. This is also how the process of learning happens, and then the process of getting insights from this data.
That's very interesting to see. There's a level beyond words, right? So also maybe linking an emotional states together with the facts, or a perception, an individual perception together with facts. I think that's very interesting, and also the whole field of education opens up so many possibilities to make use of the tools of data visualizations, I think. And so that's an interesting relation between several fields to do with education, and also obviously many others. I can see that Dominic just added something in the chat. Can you also read it? I'm mentioning it because I've had the case where I had to export data in SVG. and it was a pain. Usually the export functionalities of online tools are somewhat limited.
Maybe I can just share my screen again, like real quick. And I think there is also some other people who's turned on the camera, so maybe they also want to ask something. But I want
I also wanted to ask something about Flourish. So
okay, so just real quick, if you download the image and then if you go to the SVG and you download, no name, whatever, snapshot, and you open it, actually it looks like this. So this is pretty accurate. You can start working with it. Yes, another question.
Yeah, I also have a question about Flourish. So thank you, first of all, thank you very much. I'm having fun, a lot of fun playing around with Flourish, and I saw that there are country maps and there's no country map for Switzerland, but there's written that you can use this as a starting point and create your own country map. Did you do this already? Did you create a country map for Switzerland, or I don't know?
I didn't do it for Switzerland, but I had to overlay stuff for the map of France, and it is possible. You have to. There is. I think you have to just get like GeoJSON. Like they follow a particular standard. So you have to go to the map repository, and then you have to download these maps from the standard, and then you can load them back in Flourish. So it's definitely possible.
Okay.
We can just drop me a line if you want. We can do it together.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Are there any other questions that actually concern the app of Flourish, or would you like to share any of your results in the chat? That would be interesting, of course, to see. Did you manage to follow? Saying that, I will probably make a little start on this. I also tried to do it, so this is what my result. I didn't get totally all, but take a look at that if you want, and if you feel free to post yours as well. Oh, another question came in. So Dominic, I also noticed you can create slides, so you can create a story from the data and can also publish it on your account. So you can embed it to a website to keep the interactivity, which works nice for the online and the app use. Yeah, that's a very cool feature. Teresa, would you like to take on that?
Yes, and also we have another question about the pricing. Maybe I can do that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the pricing, I think it's actually not too bad if you think about the competition. But yeah, I mean, it's not free. If you want a free tool, maybe you can try the raw graphs, raw graphs. They are actually developing a version 2, and it works a bit differently because all your data stays in the browser and it's for free, but you cannot publish it as far as I know. And about stories, this is super cool. So it's very, very easy. You click on, here I am, you click on new story. And then this is like you get some kind of interactive slide stack. So I can click on basic slide. Yes, presentation. So creative in mind. And then you can click new slide and you can choose a visualization that you prepared. This is ours that we did today. And it's embedded the visualization in slides. You can have a new slide, and I can maybe try the one that, maybe this one. I think this is another try that I did. Yeah, this is another color scale that I did also as a preparation. And I can do the same. I can do export and publish. Publish. And here I have a story, which I can also just send a link to someone. And then these are my slides. For example, if you have like a survey or something, you can actually walk someone through it. And then if you are really into programming, actually Flourish lets you create your own templates programmatically. So it's very, very diverse and very, there's a lot of functionality. So yes.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question, and by Susan Sutter. Thank you, Susan. How do you select the chart type, and how do you evaluate your choice?
So I try to follow this principle that, okay, what do I want to say? Like, is it a comparison? Is it a hierarchy? Then I think about to whom am I communicating this? Because some people, you just say, oh, I just want to have whatever crazy chart, and because they are specialists, they will absorb it, and I don't have to think about the gap. But sometimes if I want to do something really accessible, maybe I need to think also, okay, what is the chart with the right function, but also which is very common or very easy to read. And then with evaluating your choice, I mean, always if you are just yourself and you're doing some kind of work where you don't have a client per se, then maybe you ask your friends. I mean, somehow you have to do this like super tiny guerrilla UX study, right? So you have to like show it to someone and say, what do you understand from this? And then if the person says, oh, damn, I'm completely lost, then it means you chose the wrong chart type or the wrong type of visualization. Or sometimes they understand something completely different than what you wanted to say. And here I can actually also point you to this book of Alberto Cairo, because he gives an example of this hurricane cone. How differently or how misleading was it? I mean, it was very accurate, but at the same time very misleading in terms of perception. So yeah, that would be my advice, or also my process.
So cool. So, well, we're coming to an end, I'm sorry to say. So thank you very, very much, Teresa, for this great insight and your great way of explaining a very complex thing in a very tangible way. So I'm sure everyone in this session feels very inspired to play around with the tool themselves, and I hope you get wonderful results and you can really dive into the data visualization field. I will just quickly share my slides for the end, the closing, and to show you our next event at WeShape Tech. So this will be another lunch and learn session on December the 2nd with the ROSE framework, how to integrate sustainability and impact in startup and investment procedures. And we're very excited to have the ROSE framework with us on the December the 2nd. Please join us. You can find our events on our website or also on social media, wherever. We always promote all our events there. And very happy to get your feedback. If you have anything to say, let me know, and any ideas how we can improve or inspiration or whatever, I'm very happy to hear from you. And please follow us here on social media and get involved and subscribe for the newsletter. Thank you very, very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the Open Hub Day. Hope you see many cool sessions and stay safe. Thank you, Teresa, once more.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks to Open Hub
so much,
Janine. Thanks to you guys.
Cheers. Enjoy.
Okay, bye-bye.